Well, if we're gonna find any ghosts, we better split up.
You're listening to Never Split Up, a horror movie podcast.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Never Split Up podcast. My name is Nolan, alongside Anthony as always, and today we are covering the year 2024, our year-end episode, our big one. What's going on, Anthony? How you doing? Happy early New Year.
Happy New Year. We made another year. Cheers.
We did, yeah.
We survived.
Yeah. This is going to be the fun episode. We have some top 10s for you, of course, as always. We're going to do our top 10 horror movies of 2024. We're obviously always going to do honorable mentions. That's just a given because it's so hard to kind of compartmentalize an entire year just in just 10 movies, especially the years we've been having these last couple years for horror. We've just been, feasting on so many good films. So, but we're also going to cover we're kind of going to go a little bit negative in the beginning and do I guess, what would you call it? Like our kind of overhyped or overrated movies that we feel
like disappointments or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah, because it is important to kind of take the good with the bad. So we do want to, it's not always sunshines and rainbows. We do like to be a little critical every now and then, even though we do cover a lot of movies that we enjoy. But it's also fun to kind of talk about what doesn't work for us too, just so we can get a well-rounded opinion out there. So yeah, this is gonna be good. We're just gonna kind of celebrate the year in horror. Another fantastic year. If you guys are watching on YouTube or Spotify, you will notice I have my Nosferatu beanie on. I got that for Christmas, and we just saw that movie. We just saw that movie last night on Christmas Day. And yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about that this episode. So look out for that. So
we'll see.
Yes, that we had to wait last minute to record this episode until after we saw Nosferatu because it just wouldn't feel complete.
It didn't feel right. Feel right.
Exactly. It was the last big release. Let us know what you guys thought of Nosferatu in the comments too, because that was kind of again the last huge release of the year. So this is going to be, this is going to take a while. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. So do you want to talk about some movies that didn't work for us first? Do you want to go first?
Yeah. Let me just get the one out of the way because everyone knows the big disappointment of the year for me. So let me just get that one out of the way. We covered this one. It's Salem's Lot, the 2024 adaptation that sat on the shelf for a couple years. Anyone who knows me and if you guys have watched or listened to the podcast, I am obsessed with the 1979 miniseries. It is my favorite vampire movie of all time. And going into this new one, I hope it just has a little bit of the vibe and atmosphere of the original, and it had none of it. And it just was a CGI, Walmart bin horror jump scare mess, and that could be fun, but the execution in this, it was so bad in every way. I don't want to say too much because we did do an episode on it, so check that episode out. I thought that was a fun one because Noel and I do have a little bit different opinions on that one. But yeah, I was just super bummed for a movie that I was really hyping up for years once it was announced, and I was championing getting a theatrical release. That when it finally dropped on Max, I was all right, let me just see what it's all about, and I just felt deflated the whole time. So yeah, I mean, other than a one-time Friday night watch, I'm not gonna recommend that movie to anybody. And again, even that, it's bottom of the barrel for me. So yeah, I was super bummed because Salem's Lot is such an important property to me. So yeah, that's obviously my biggest disappointment of the year. Bummed me out.
I didn't have any huge disappointments where I was really looking forward to something and writing down. Probably the biggest one for me, I'll get this one out of the way. And this is one that you either really liked it or it didn't work for you. It was A Quiet Place Day One.
Disappointed?
Very disappointed. Didn't work for me. I didn't love the chemistry between the two leads.
Really?
I thought it was a little. Yeah, it could have been better with a better script. I just thought the script was overall lacking. I didn't love the monsters. I forget what they're called in that universe, if they have a name or not, the alien creatures or whatever. But I thought it was inconsistent with the first couple Quiet Place movies in terms of like the power scaling. I thought it was a little strange, some of the sequences. I just thought it was not what I was expecting. I was expecting a different movie, not this like weird kind of love story in the middle of like Ground Zero and Day One. It's called Day One. I thought I was going to get more of like the initial impact of what happened and not just like this contained story. But I understand why it works for some people. I mean, it's definitely, like I said, it's definitely contained and it focuses on those characters, but they didn't work for me. So I just found myself empty-handed the whole time. And then, other than I forget the name of the cat. The cat was the hero.
Oh my God. That was the star.
The cat was the star. I can't remember. It's been a few months since I've seen the movie, but the cat was the star.
I hear you though. The cat was, I was like, if that cat dies, I'm leaving the theater.
Oh, you saw it in theater? I didn't see it in theater.
Yeah. I see a lot of like it was overall like well received, but I see people like online, like some people are like hit or miss. It did work for me though, and I think that I was going into that one like with the marketing was like big New York City like nonstop set pieces, and I was actually kind of like impressed that it was like a somber like meditation on death, especially with our leading character. But I do agree that I don't think. For me, it worked, but if we didn't have Lupita Nyong'o or Joseph Quinn like being such good actors, it would have not worked as much as it did for me. I think they really elevated the script a lot and did what they could. But I did like it in the end, like got me in the feel. So I actually did enjoy that one. But I could see how it disappointed you and many others. I have another one that it's also like very divisive. It's either everyone loves it or everyone doesn't. I don't hate it and I don't love it. It's just kind of like, to me, was a missed opportunity, and I think I was a little bit disappointed by In a Violent Nature. I know a lot. I mean, the one kill set. I don't want to go spoilers. I mean, we might do some spoilers in this episode, but just in case you guys haven't seen that one, watch the movie for that moment. But that death scene's awesome. I mean, the lead up to it's hilarious. That she just stops and waits for it instead of. But I just think the movie overall, it was a cool experiment. But I think it would have worked better as a short, do like something in between like 45 minutes to an hour, like the movie Host on Shudder. I don't think it fully worked and sustained itself for a full like hour and 35. I think it was like an hour and 40 minutes. So it didn't hold my attention. I can only watch someone walk through the woods, for so long. But it was a cool experiment, but I just don't think it didn't fully work for me. And I think a little bit of tweaks and a lot of chopping would have worked for me. And I'm hoping that when they go into the sequel, because I know they're making a sequel. And I'm not fully off, I'm not off board. I'm still on board, but I want them to make some changes to make it more, entertaining and enticing. Because I was a little bit like, okay, let's get going. I want to wrap it up. But I know that people feel like that they either love that one or it doesn't work for them. So I know a lot of people like it's one of their favorites of the year. That's why like the hype. It was a little bit bummed me out a little bit.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It was definitely one of those polarizing movies where before I saw it, I saw people just saying this was the coolest thing ever, and then also people saying like I wasted my
worst
time.
Thing ever, typical online, extreme.
Yeah, exactly. Like in the moment, just like making these declarations. But okay, I'm gonna go with one. I'm gonna kind of follow you again. A one that I don't hate, but I didn't love as much as other people. It was kind of in the middle. Once I sat on it, there was a lot of issues with it. I did enjoy it kind of, but it is Mads. And
okay, I didn't see that one yet. So
okay,
that's another disclaimer, guys. We're only two people, so there's a lot of movies. I haven't seen a lot still, so just
it was cool. And just going forward, I'm gonna try to make all of these comments spoiler free in case anyone hasn't seen these movies, especially some of the newer releases that we're going to talk about. So I'm going to try to kind of toe that line with, I'm not going to go too crazy into depth and detail with these films, but as you know, the premise, it's a one-shot movie. It was all filmed in one take, which was super technical and super awesome to see, and it was a really cool, fresh take on the infected subgenre. I thought that gimmick, though, got in the way of the storytelling, especially in the first half of the movie. I thought it finished really great, and again, not to give too much away, but it's kind of structured in where there's like three leads of the movie, and there's like three different POVs. the two POVs at the end worked for me. The first POV, which was like the first half of the movie, didn't work so well, and I thought it was kind of messy. But it was cool. It was a cool, concept. I just think that it could have benefited from maybe not doing the one take premise.
Okay.
And it could have been a stronger movie, but it was pretty remarkable to see it kind of all come together.
It's on my list to check out, so I'll have to see. But I've also seen online like different opinions on that online. I'm curious to check that one out.
Yeah, there's some people it's like their favorite of the year, like favorite.
I kind of love that though. Like some people, like I don't like extremism, but I like them. It's like, oh, it didn't really work for me. And people are like, no, it really worked for me. I think that's like, it shows a unique filmmaker that they don't care about. They're just trying to make something special.
It's fun. It's a wild ride. I just think that it's not a perfect movie, and it was okay. It was just okay.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other. If you want to keep going, I don't have any other like.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, just not to get like too negative, but the Strangers Chapter 1 hated it.
I don't have that anywhere.
Hated it. I thought it was just fucking stupid and pointless, and just felt like a lazy ripoff. And the actors were not as good. The chemistry wasn't there like in the first one. The villains weren't scary at all. Whoever played the sack guy, his movements were like not there. He was not in scary whatsoever. I know they're doing a chapter 2. They're going to switch it up a bit, but it's almost as if they should have just like retitled it and just made their own thing if they're going to make it so different in the second one. So they kind of just using the name. I don't really love when they do that, when they just kind of use the name of an IP just to kind of get to like money. What they want to do. Yeah. So we'll see what the second one does, but I saw a teaser for it and I don't have high hopes for it just because it doesn't work for me. The villains were just like, they felt like SNL ripoff. It was like a scary movie ripoff. It was rough.
Yeah, I didn't hate. I mean, I don't know if I'm just too easy, but I didn't hate The Strangers Chapter 1, but it obviously like pales in comparison to the OG in every way. I thought it was fine. Like and that's not a really good like remark to call a movie fine, because it means it's not memorable either way, like good or bad. But I would just describe the movie as fine. I like the Madeline Pesh. I thought she did well. But again, The Strangers don't compare to the OG ones. But I'm curious about. They didn't lose me, so I am curious about the sequel. But yeah, that's not like anywhere on my list. Like
I'm gonna watch it. Obviously, I have more curiosity. They didn't completely lose me, but
I thought the boyfriend was like pretty rough. His act, like, he was pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, and their chemistry, like you said, Madeline Pesh or whatever her name is, she was fine on her own, but them together,
right. I agree with that.
Just the script or whatever, just didn't
cookie cutter like horror movie couple. Like nothing.
Yeah. And then just one other one. I really don't understand why people raved about this movie. I thought it was the dumbest freaking thing.
Well,
and I love this subgenre. We've talked about this subgenre. It was Under Paris, the shark movie.
Oh, the shark movie?
I thought
it was just stupid cheese.
It was stupid cheese, but it wasn't fun stupid cheese. It was just so dumb and ridiculous. And I'm like, I had to actually like pause the movie to make sure I was watching the right movie, because I saw so many people saying this is like the best shark movie since so-and-so and since Jaws. I mean, you get all those comments, so you're expecting something different. I'm watching this and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's not even like stupid fun. It's just stupid. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was a waste of my time, and it was just very silly. I think they're going to do like a second one or something.
There's another shark movie that I don't even know I can't remember the name, because I don't know. I just watched it like the other night. I can't remember what streaming service, but I thought that was the fun, cheesy horror movie, shark movie of the year. That was like, super cheesy, stupid, but I actually liked it. I can't remember the name, so I'm sorry, but it's on one of the streaming services.
I think that was the only one I saw this year. So
try to wipe the bad taste out of your mouth. It just came, it's like, I saw it was like number 1 on one of the streaming services. I don't know. So I'm like, let me watch it. But it was fun. It was like stupid. It was the stupid shark movie that I wanted. That one. They're like stuck in an airplane on the bottom of the and underwater. So it's like the airplane crashes. But it was cool. It was like a little jumps here and there. It was fun. But yeah, Under Paris, I just remember like I don't remember much about it. I thought it was just like
they had like the triathlon at the end, and like it was just it was silly. It was
very silly.
Yeah.
All right, so we got some disappointments out of the way.
Yeah, we got that out of the way. Just kind of sweep that under the rug. Let's get to our. I guess we're gonna have some honorable mentions. I'm not sure how many you have. I guess I'll go first, because I might have a little bit more than you, but I can always whittle mine down. The first one, again, now we're onto the positive side of things. These are movies that kind of just missed my top 10. I don't know if you've seen this one yet or not. It was Alien Romulus. Really.
I did watch it.
You did watch it. Okay. Really enjoyed Alien Romulus. I think it was a good installment. It kind of, I don't want to say went back to basics, but it did kind of in that like vibe kind of went, it reminded me of like the old school Alien movies. Kind of similar to like how Prey kind of went back to like, basics for the Predator movies.
Yeah.
And it's funny, Alien and Predator, they coexist.
Intertwined,
but, yeah. I thought it was well. I was expecting more. I was expecting more, and for it to go all out with the gore and everything, because what's his name, the director, Fede Alvarez, is known for that. I mean, his Evil Dead remake is one of my favorite remakes of all time. So it does have his touch in the movie, but I wanted him to go kind of full out Fede Alvarez, and he kind of did. It feels like he did hold back a little. So that was a little disappointing, but I did really enjoy the movie. I'm excited to watch it. I've only seen it once. I'm excited to watch it a second time. I thought the performances were really, really well, and I thought the ending sequence with again, not to get too spoilery, but the design of the villain at the end, you know what I'm talking about, was really creepy and really cool. So definitely a solid flick.
No, I meant to go see it in theaters, and I kept missing out, but I finally watched it on Hulu, and I thought I had a lot of fun with it. I think it did bring back more of the horror versus where the later installments were more about the action. So that injected some horror back into the franchise. But I agree with you. I did want Fede Alvarez to go full fucking Fede Alvarez, and I do feel I'm like, oh, he has he's on pumping the brakes, on certain scenes. So I'm hoping that I heard it. I mean, it did really well, so they're gonna get a sequel, which I mean he's gonna direct it again. I hope he just goes fuck it, full pedal to the metal. But I did have fun. I thought it was a fun Alien installment, so I would say it's another fun one. I appreciated that. All right, I'll shoot that one. I'm gonna go with I don't want to say much about one because it kind of is about the twists and the psychological turns. I really enjoyed Strange Darling, the horror thriller with Kyle Gallner, who is a horror it boy, and Willa Fitzgerald, who's actually in the Scream TV series. She killed it. That's one of my favorite performances of the year. She is the lady in that movie, and again, I don't want to say too much, but it's pretty much a cat and mouse game, and it's not in it's rearranged in a different order. Not everything happens in a sequential order, and it just gets a little twisted turny, and you're just following these two characters, and you're like, oh, you think this one's the bad one, then you don't know what's going on. And I don't want to say too much, but I thought it was a fun, unique experiment, and I actually appreciated it, and I did like where it ended up, so I really enjoyed that one. It was a fun thriller.
Yeah, I did too. I enjoyed it too. It's not on my top 10, but it was a really solid flick. I thought it was unique, like you said, the way it was structured. I do wish it ended a little bit with more of a bang. I know it was kind of a cathartic ending, and kind of that was what they were going with narratively. I did wish that it ended a little bit on a higher note, but overall, really good performances, like you said, and it was a really tight movie. No wasted screen time or anything, and kind of was a fun ride. Yeah, I agree, it was a fun ride. Okay, moving along, I'm gonna go with one that you mentioned before, In a Violent Nature.
Okay, so
is in my honorable mentions. It really worked for me. I understand the critique. It could have been a little bit shorter. I didn't want it that much shorter because it actually was fun, to kind of explore that style of slasher where it's just kind of in the eyes of the killer, and I thought it was a fresh enough take to where I didn't get bored with it, like others did. So I was just kind of along for the ride, and I was kind of just soaking it all in, kind of putting myself in the killer's POV. And yeah, it was refreshing because they could have just did another run-of-the-mill woods slasher where the teenagers are, being stupid and you're following all the campers around, and it's like we've seen that so many times. So it was cool to see, other than the one campfire scene where you kind of get their POV, it was fun to see the killer's POV. The ending was questionable. I'm not gonna live.
Oh my god, that long car ride. Oh my god.
I think it was just the director saying "fuck you" to the audience, and just like
fuck you. We're gonna have a cameo from one of the people from Friday the 13th Part 2. She's gonna talk for 8 hours.
For 8 hours, yeah. So I kind of like when I think of this movie, I kind of compartmentalize that and don't really include that part. But other than that, I will say that I really enjoyed that film, and I can't wait for the second one. And the kills, they would have the one kill that everyone talks about. But there was one or two other kills too that were really, really cool as well. So they definitely got creative.
Yeah, I mean the practical was pretty sweet in that movie. Yeah, I will say like the one thing I disappointed me, but I'm on board like for a sequel and to be turned around on it. So hopefully he learns from the first one and like tweaks a couple things. But that's awesome. All right, my next one. It's not a great movie. It's not even. Some people don't. I mean, it's a trashy movie. It's not great, but I adore it because my guy's in it, and so I'm gonna just give him a shout out. It's stupid, but my next honorable mention is Trap. M. Night is hit or miss, but you know who's not hit or miss? Josh Hartnett is not hit or miss, and he's always brings his A game. So I thought I actually am one of the weirdos. I see a lot of complaints that people hated like what happened when they left the concert. After that, actually the stuff after the concert worked more for me than the stuff at the concert. I actually think the stuff at the concert, he could have, M. Night like really had a lot of wasted potential. He didn't do enough at the actual concert. And I thought he like kind of was unique after that. So it's not a great it's not one of his like best directed movies, but I just think Josh Hartnett is having so much fun. And I love the last, I mean, again, I'm not going to talk spoilers, but the last shot, like, he makes a certain expression. I just love it so much. So yeah, I just think it's Joshua Hartnett like coming back to like the genre and being like, I just want to have fun and play. So I just enjoyed watching him have so much fun for like an hour and 40 minutes. So that's the only reason I enjoyed this movie was because of him. And I like the whole ending scene, the whole second half when there's a lot of dialogue, but it's interesting. So a lot of people didn't like it, but I liked it a lot, and I had fun with it because of Josh Hartnett. Put him in more horror movies, and I think he is going to stick with the genre. So he's one of the horror vets. So let's keep him in it.
Yeah. That movie didn't really work for me. It was it wasn't atrocious, but it was just a little too much for me. I wanted a better script. I actually thought M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, who plays the pop star, was probably like the highlight. Once she comes into the second half of the movie, I thought she actually was a pretty decent actress and kind of sold it pretty well. But yeah, I wanted a very different movie. I was expecting him to kind of go crazy and just, not to spoil too much, but I wanted like a way more kills and him kind of
it's not that.
Kill his way out of it. No, it wasn't that at all. So I was kind of dumbfounded when it wasn't that, and I couldn't really reel myself back in because it was just it was too camp for me almost.
It was camp.
It was borderline camp, like, is this intentional or is this just bad? Because I know M. Night Shyamalan could use some help with his script skills every now and then. And, if he just had a dedicated script writer that was like really good, I feel like a lot of his movies could be taken to another level. So it was towing that line where it was.
It just made me so happy seeing Josh Hartnett have so much fun on screen.
Yeah. All right, let's move it along. Next one for me is, this is a franchise that I adore. It's VHS Beyond. This was a really solid entry. Oh, really? This was such a good entry into the franchise. Okay,
I've heard it's good.
Yeah, that some of the tapes were really cool. I don't like how this franchise has devolved into just like short stories, and there's no through line there because there's zero.
Made the first couple
line.
So special.
Yeah. What'd you say?
That's what made the first couple so special.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's what made them creepy because you were kind of watching along with the characters. That's not like even remotely hinted at anymore. We've gone so far past that. Yeah, I mean there is like an in the middle story, but it's just like another tape pretty much. It's not like a meta thing or anything. But yeah, there's some of these. There's like one that doesn't work for me. That's not that great, but the rest are like really fucking cool, and it's a really solid entry. It's long. It's like over 2 hours long, but it's worth it.
Oh wow! I'll have to watch that this weekend because I'm bummed that I didn't get around to that. But I'm happy it's on your honorable. I know you. That's one of your favorite franchises from our guys. Check out that episode. So that's good to see that the franchise is so consistent at least, and it's on your honorable mentions. I have two more, and these two could have been my number 10. I just ended up putting my number 10 on the list that maybe have an actual physical reaction. But my next honorable mention is one that we covered, and it's Maxine. I am pro Maxine. I am pro the trilogy capper. I thought it was a blast. I thought it was a nice throwback to like the video nasties of the 80s. I thought Mia Goth, like when I think of the trilogy now, like Maxine Final Girl, I'm gonna think about Maxine. She, I mean, when she freaking like, again, not too many spoilers, but this is not that much. But when she like stomps on that guy's balls and she's like, fuck you. You know what happened to the last person who tried to fuck with me? I crushed her fucking head, and I'm like, yes, girl. I think it was fun. It was a fun movie, and I get people from the trailer wanted a more like traditional slasher, and that's not what it was. But I just like that Ty West injected something different into each movie, and it just worked for me so much. It's a movie about Maxine first and the other stuff second, and I just like that he stuck to that. And I just think Mia Goth, it made her a household name, that trilogy, and I really enjoyed each one of them for very different reasons. So I can't not give him credit for the third one, even though it didn't work for everybody. It really worked for me.
It was a lot of fun, and I think this is such a stylized movie. I think it's going to age well for a lot of people. Oh, for sure. And I think even for me, I could see myself having a lot of fun with this movie the more I watch it, and especially when I do like my trilogy rewatches. So I think it was, it was fun. That's a good honorable mention for sure. Did you have any more?
You
have one more?
I have two more.
Okay, let me just rattle off one real quick then. Azrael with Samara Weaving.
Okay.
Super cool concept. The scope is pretty small. It's kind of just in the woods. There's no talking. It's just her kind of going crazy and going like full feral mode and just killing a bunch of people. There's, the hints of the kind of the supernatural going on, which is cool. I think it wasn't explained too much. It kind of kept it toned down, and it was pretty creepy. It kind of felt like a video game, like you were kind of in the middle of like a video game, like a survival game. I thought it was really cool. The ending was a great payoff, and it was really cool. The climax was awesome, and Samara Weaving is just awesome.
Samara Weaving.
That's all there is to it. Yeah, Samara.
Yeah, I started that one night, and it's not the movie's fault. It's just I'm a grandpa, and I fell asleep, and I never got back to it. But I will, especially now that you're saying it's on your honorable mentions. I will make sure I go back
especially
and rewatch
the
that.
ending. Yeah, the ending's a good payoff.
I think I was pulled in from I think I fell asleep like probably like 30 minutes in, but I was really pulled in. But I'm like, I'm like, when I lay down on that couch, sometimes I put that recliner. I have a reclining couch now. I'm like, oh no, but no, I'll have to go back and rewatch that. My next one, I'm gonna give some love to Radio Silence because I think people think I don't like them because I have issues with Scream 6 now, and I don't. I love them. It's just geez, let me have my opinions. I think Abigail was a really fun vampire movie, and I think that it's the style of horror movie that Radio Silence excels in. They really succeed and excel in making this fun, cheesy, but also not afraid to go full bloody, over the top craziness, and with a big ensemble. It's what the kind of horror they're meant to do. Let's make them have their original horror and not like maybe take over franchises anymore. I think the cast was great. Catherine Newton's a scene stealer in that movie. Melissa Barrera is a good final girl, as we know from the Scream franchise. It's just a fun movie, and I can't remember the girl's name who plays Abigail, but she fucking killed it. Like, she was one of the better child performances I've seen in recent memory. It's just a fun movie. I think the third act kind of like doesn't fall apart from, but it's not as strong as the first two acts. But overall, it's a fun bloody blast, and I do find myself going back to rewatch it just because I know I'm gonna be in for a good time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I have a couple more.
I have one more.
I have like one that's like really just missed my top 10, but before I get to that, I just want to rattle off a couple that I just want to give a shout out to because I don't know if it's going to make your top 10. But this one, I don't really know if it's a genre film. It's not really horror. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called It's What's Inside. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, I don't like it.
You didn't like it?
Yeah, I know.
I thought it was fun. I thought it was good. There was no horror. There wasn't like many kills. But it was like a genre film, and I see people classifying it in the horror genre.
I do too. I would say so, yeah. It gets a little weird.
It's close enough, I guess, but I just wanted to throw that out there. It's not really horror per se, but it was a fun time. I had a good time with it.
Okay.
Daddy's Head, one of the coolest creature designs I've seen in the last couple years. It's the story is super, super bare bones. The acting is pretty good, but it could have been more. I wish they did more with the movie, and I understand it was probably a lower budget, but I thought the creature design deserves a shout out because it was super, super creepy. that was cool. And then also, first-time director Anna Kendrick with Woman of the Hour. I don't know if you've seen that.
I that's another one that I was a grandpa and fell asleep after.
Oh, okay. Really solid, really solid. I watched it by myself, and then my wife ended up watching it, so I sat down and watched with her.
I do like Anna Kendrick though, so I have
and
to finish it.
It was a really, really good story.
That's
and only
the one that's
woman
based on a real serial killer, right? That's the one that okay,
yep.
Okay, I remember.
Yeah, but it was good, especially because a woman directed it, and it was kind of through the eyes of like women in Hollywood, especially back then in the 70s and stuff. So that was good. But my final honorable mention, it just missed my top 10. You might be surprised to hear this, is Late Night with the Devil.
Oh, it missed it.
Did miss it. This was a stacked year. We covered this episode back towards the beginning of the year, so check it out. We have kind of different opinions on it, but it really worked for me. I think it's very rewatchable. It's kind of sucks you into that late night setting, and it doesn't let go, because I believed I was watching like a real life television show the whole time. So that was cool. And yeah, David Dastmalchian is just amazing. If this movie wasn't so, if this year wasn't so filled with amazing performances, I would say that he might be my favorite performance of the year, but he's not. And that's not a, knock on him. It's just a credit to how amazing this year has been for horror. But yeah, it was, really fun time, really cool. It just missed my top 10 though.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we all guys check out that episode if that's not anywhere. It's not on my disappointments though either, so that's kind of, that's a plus for the movie, but it's just not anywhere on my list. I think it just proved that David Dastmalchian should be a leading man, and I think if I can give that movie credit, it'd be it has the aesthetic down pat. That's probably the main reason I'm gonna go back and rewatch it. As far as Daddy said, I agree. I think the design was cool, but the story was lacking in a lot of areas. And it's funny, your last honorable mention is the movie that we before we went on our little break, and my last honorable mention is going to be the first movie we came back to after a break. It's Immaculate is my final honorable mention. I just think that it showcases Sydney Sweeney's acting talents so well, and I was actually in shock that it got bloodier than I thought, and I just think it's a fun little quick 85-minute religious horror that knows what it is, wants to get in and out. And I just had a blast with it, and I think that she killed it. I was I saw it in theaters, so it was a very interactive crowd in that movie. They were cheering, we were cheering for her the whole third act. So I had a lot of fun with that movie. Go check out that episode. We covered it. We both liked it a lot. I think I liked it a little bit more than you, Nolan, but I had a blast, and I remember just cheering when she's starting to take names at the end. It's so good. So yeah, I had a really fun time with Immaculate.
Yeah, cool. That's cool. Yeah, it was a cool.
It was good.
Little
it was
movie.
Really good.
It was good. Yeah. All right, cool. Let's
do it.
Let's start then. Our top 10 movies of 2024. I'll kick it off. Number 10 for me was Heretic, starring Hugh Grant, Sophie Thatcher, and Chloe East. And boy, did it star them. It was just an acting showcase from start to finish. All three held their own. Everyone talks about Hugh Grant and Sophie Thatcher, but Chloe East was probably my favorite performance. She kind of just stole every time she spoke. She stole the show, and she was so believable. And I know her and Sophie Thatcher in real life have ties to the Mormon Church, so that's kind of they were able to kind of rely on that and kind of lean on that for these roles, and it really paid off because this was such a cool movie. It was such a wild ride. I personally like the way it concludes in the third act. I don't know what people were expecting. If they wanted it to, well, I don't want to spoil it. No spoilers.
I know it's hard to talk about some of these movies.
I don't know what people were expecting, but I was fully expecting the way it went, and I was pleased with it because it was not trying to do anything too nuts, and I appreciated that. It was the focus was on the characters, and it was on these themes and premises that, and I thought we touched on this, I believe, on Phil's podcast. Shout out to Phil at the Movies. We kind of did a year-end review. Yeah. I thought it balanced the different, because the whole premise is, Hugh Grant is, challenging the Mormon belief system and everything. But I thought they did a good job of kind of balancing that whole, anti versus religion, and I thought there was something there on both sides. So whether you're a religious person or you're not a religious person, I think you can get something out of this movie and have a fun time with it. So yeah, I thought it was a really, really fun time. I don't want to get, too detailed because, if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out.
I'm so happy I finally got to see that one in theaters. I feel like the biggest compliment to give to that movie is that you feel uneasy and on edge just from three people having a conversation. And there's no there's scares, but I felt the most on edge when they're just talking. And that's the biggest compliment I can give to the director and those three actors. So I really, really, really enjoyed Heretic. We'll see if we talk about it again or not. But my number 10 is going to be Infested. It's a French movie, and the reason why it's on the list, it's about an apartment building that gets infested with these spiders. I was scratching my skin throughout the movie, and I immediately had to shower after that movie. I don't know if you watched it, Nolan, but it really got under my skin, and it just made me so itchy. And I'm like, if this movie is doing this, I have to it really affected me physically. I thought it was a really cool build up. It wasn't too, some of these spider movies, it's cheesy, ridiculousness. It was a tiny bit of cheese, but it actually kept the serious tone. And it went there, and I just we have a group of characters trying to escape an apartment building infested with spiders. Simple, effective, creepy, scary. If you have arachnophobia, this is going to be the scariest movie you watch of the year, because it really it goes there. I don't have that. I actually don't mind spiders, and I always found myself itching and be like, oh my god, there's spiders in here. There's spiders on the couch. Warning to people who like dogs. I don't like dog death scenes, but there's a dog in the movie, and something happens to him, but overall, the movie, it just creeped me the fuck out, and it had me itching for a bit after the movie ended. So if you want to watch it, I believe it's on Shudder. Check it out. But if you don't like if you are not a fan of spiders, beware, because you're gonna have a reaction for sure.
I started this movie and I kind of got bored with it, and I never
really
went back to it. Yeah, I don't know if I just wasn't in the right frame of mind, but I watched maybe the first, I don't know, 30-40 minutes of it, and I kind of was like,
okay. I think you had over an hour left still after that. Okay.
Yeah, it was, I realized I had an hour left, so I was like, okay, let me get back to this, and I just never went back to it.
Okay.
So I can't really comment on the movie because it's not fair for me to comment on it, but yeah, because it does seem like it was about to kind of turn, because it was building into something. So I am curious now that it's on your top 10, because now I really want to finish it. So I am curious to see how it concludes. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't really have a super fear of them.
Yeah, I don't have a phobia, but I was like,
yeah,
this movie is making me go crazy right now. That's why I'm like, I have to. It's making me have a physical reaction. I have to put it on the list.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Okay, number 9 for me is gonna be Terrifier 3 at number 9.
Woo!
What can I say? Art the Clown, one of the goats of modern horror in terms of villains. He's gonna stand the test of time and be one of the icons for sure. He already is. Damien Leone really leaned into, he realized that art was becoming the icon that he is, and I feel like he tailored this movie for him. I know, Sienna Shaw was a legendary final girl in the second one. I personally think, and I think you agree with me, that she kind of takes a back seat in this movie to Art the Clown, which is fine. It's just not kind of what I was expecting, but I think it works, obviously, because Art the Clown is fucking great. It goes all in on the camp. It goes,
it's a Christmas movie. It has
camp.
To, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just Art the Clown being a silly little guy and just killing people and meeting Santa and having a good time. And, fuck them kids. There's a lot of kid deaths, so, graphic warning if you don't like to see kids dying, don't watch this movie. I thought the opening sequence was probably my favorite. That was, I kind of wanted more of that in the rest of the movie, and that's kind of why it's not a little bit higher, because I do love the first two movies, and I do love this one too, but it's just kind of not exactly what I was hoping for, but it is a really, really fun movie. We saw it together. We had a blast in the theater. And yeah, I can't wait to go back and watch this again and again and kind of watch the trilogy. And I know he's making another movie, a Terrifier 4, sure. So it's going to fit right in. Hopefully he keeps making bangers. But yeah, Art the Clown is awesome, and it was a really fun ride.
Oh, I'm happy that Terrifier 3 we love slashers on this podcast, so I'm happy that Terrifier 3 made your list. I about Sienna Shaw, I think that if you want like your badass final girl stuff, it's gonna be like your traditional stuff like that. It's gonna be Terrifier 2, but I do like that they explored her like PTSD. Like I think what's her name, Lauren Rivera, she killed it like in that aspect, like exploring her PTSD for the first 2/3 of the movie. I mean, we'll talk about this again, but my issues solely lie within like the third act with her. I mean, just in general, I just wish that she didn't have her super ability, superpower abilities, super healing abilities in this movie. But it's just a fun Christmas slash movie that goes there, and I just think that it's so awesome that we have an unrated movie like that theaters are packed with a horror audiences seeing it. I mean, it was crowded. We went. It was awesome. So I had a lot of fun with Terrifier 3. Again, we'll see if that one pops up again. But my number 9, I don't know if you're gonna be mad that it's so low for me, but it's a top 10, so it's still awesome. My number 9 is Oddity. I had a blast with this movie. It is super, super, super creepy. I think if you guys want a moody, creepy, suspense-filled, supernatural movie, I think this is definitely, put this on your list ASAP. Like Nolan said when we talked on Phil's podcast, again, shout out to that again. It's not one of the mainstream, American-produced movies. It's not a foreign movie, but what is it, made in Ireland? Irish movie? So I think that that benefited it, and it's not your traditional, American production. I just think that there's some. I watched it at home and I jumped out of my couch and that doesn't happen to me much in horror movies anymore. I'm kind of desensitized, but it got me with the jump scare, and I just think the concept was cool. I don't want to say too much about it, but I think the concept lent itself to that kind of movie, and I really liked where it went. I liked that the finale wasn't really about a demon or something. It was about someone getting revenge on someone. It was cool. It was a good story. I liked the way it played out, and I think it's just something that I don't think it's as rewatchable as the first time is going to be my favorite time watching it, but I will go back and watch it, but there'll be nothing like that first time. But yeah, I think it's a cool, creepy, throwback old school, like Hammer horror films ghost story. And I love the concept. So I'm happy that I'm a Shudder subscriber. I can watch that whenever I want. I'll have to pick up the Blu-ray too if they release it on Blu-ray. I had a really good time with Oddity.
Yeah, I like how they kind of told you that there was something going on, like mystical, but you weren't quite sure what was going to happen. They kind of kept it a secret. And then, like you said, the third act was pretty unique in that regard. Not to get too spoilery, but yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But for now, let's get to number 8. Number 8 for me is a movie you mentioned already. It is Abigail.
Okay, so major list. Okay.
Radio Silence, yeah. I love this movie. This movie is so much fun. It's going to be so rewatchable. Like you said, this is kind of Radio Silence's sweet spot. Their writing and their humor just, for some reason, works for me. I just have a blast when they write these movies like Abigail and Ready or Not. I think Abigail is like not quite on the level of Ready or Not, but it's up there in terms of like the humor and just how much fun I have with it. The cast was amazing. I love, like you said, you mentioned the little girl, Catherine Newton was a scene stealer. Melissa Barrera was awesome. I know you had issues with the third act. I thought maybe it was a little bit long in the tooth, the ending, but I liked how they transitioned into making Melissa's character kind of that final girl, and they kind of leaned into the final girl aspect, and they kind of stuck with her. I thought that was a cool transition, and they treated her pretty well in this movie, and she's going to go down as like a badass final girl in this movie. So yeah, watch this movie, guys. It's a lot of fun. I don't want to spoil any of the kills or anything, but it's really, really cool, and it's a kid vampire just, killing people. I mean, what more could you want?
It's fun. It's a grab your popcorn fun kind of horror movie. Again, we'll talk about the actual third act when we cover. We haven't covered any of these movies yet on the podcast, so we'll have to talk about that.
I just bought Jackie the 4K for Christmas. So
did they? 4K. Is it out on 4K?
I'm sorry, not 4K, not 4K.
The Blu-ray.
Yeah,
okay, because I bought the Blu-ray. I was like Blu-ray, and I'm like, I wish they released it in 4K.
No, it's a Blu-ray, but it's the collector's edition, so it's got all the bonus features. Yeah,
I have it. Yeah, I pulled the trigger and bought it. So I'm like, this is fun. I'm gonna rewatch this a bunch, so I have to buy it. All right, I like that pick. All right, my number 8 is going to be Lisa Frankenstein. I know, guys, we're talking about horror, but this is horror. and it is a quirky horror comedy. And I'm just, again, I'm in love with Catherine Newton. Like, I'm so jealous that you met her. I actually am in love with her.
Cool.
I think she is. We talk about like these modern horror scream queens, and I kind of think that sometimes she goes under the radar just because she does disappear into each character she plays.
Yeah.
Whether that be Freaky, Abigail, or this. I mean, right there, those are 3 characters that have such different personalities. But I think that she just owns the fuck out of this movie. And it's just weird. It's a weird, quirky comedy that isn't afraid to go dark, and there's death. And I just had so much fun watching this. Once it ended, I'm like, God, this is going to be a cult classic. Like, give it 10 years and it'll be a cult classic. Yeah, it's weird and fun, and it's hilarious, but it's also, like, not afraid to go to, like, these dark places. And I just love the animated sequence. I just found myself smiling this entire movie, and I bought it immediately after I watched it on Peacock. So, I'm absolutely obsessed with this movie. I adore Lisa Frankenstein so much. It's the movie that I'm going to go to whenever I'm, like, down or whatever. I'm like, I just want to pick me up. It's one of the pick-me-ups of 2024. It's so charming and so fucking weird and quirky. And I am weird, and I like weird. So I adore this movie so much. Catherine Newton, stay with horror, please.
Yeah, me too. We just watched this again for recently, like a month ago. It's so good. It's so good, like you said. Shout out to Zelda Williams. She directed one hell of a movie, and she had a vision, and she nailed it. And I hope she continues to make some cool movies in the genre, because she has some good directing chops. So shout out to her. So yeah, okay, cool. Number 7, moving right along. Ooh. Now we're starting to get into the big releases where people are going to be yelling at me.
Why is that not higher?
So low. Yeah. My number 7 is, and we talked about this previously, why it's maybe not higher, is Longlegs. Really adore Longlegs. Again, I just, not to repeat myself, but I didn't see this opening night. I didn't see this in the theaters even. I saw this a few months after, once it hit streaming. So not only did the hype die down, but I got almost the entire movie spoiled for me in terms of, like, the, what's Nicolas Cage's, Longlegs, and there's other stuff I got spoiled. So, the one thing that didn't get spoiled was the ending and the twist.
Oh, good. I was going to ask you that.
So that was the one thing that I didn't get spoiled, but pretty much I feel like I saw most of the movie before I watched it. So, but yeah, going into it, the marketing was incredible for that movie. I wish I saw it in theaters. Maybe I could have had a better time. And I do still love the movie. I mean, it's number 7 for me. I'm just kind of explaining why it's maybe not top 5. But yeah, this movie was really, really good. I can't wait to go back. I think this is going to have, pun intended, long legs in terms of watching power because the performances are great. I mean, Micah Monroe, we just talked about Catherine Newton. She's another just modern day scream queen. We really are like, we have like 3 or 4 like really solid scream queens that are kind of just taking awesome roles. And I think Micah Monroe maybe has the biggest acting chops out of all of them in terms of range. I mean, her range is just incredible. And she is so good in this movie. She is amazing. And yeah, again, not to spoil too much, but the woman who plays her mother puts on a good performance. I forget her name, the actress, but she is awesome. Nicolas Cage is just having so much fun with this role. I'm sure people, even if you haven't seen the movie by now, you've seen Longlegs and what he looks like and kind of the famous scenes of him singing in the car and stuff. And yeah, it's a lot of fun when he's on screen, but then when Micah Monroe's on screen and the ending, it gets very dark, very twisted. And yeah, I love movies that end that way. Not to spoil it, but I love me a darker ending. So
yeah, I would say Micah Monroe is the modern horror scream queen with all of her filmography. And again, I'm someone who loves an opening sequence, and the opening scene to this one in the theater, like that, it just pulled me in so much. Yeah, I adore Longlegs. It's that's another one that it gets more divisive as time goes by, but I was like hooked for the entire movie. It's just Oz Perkins. Again, it might be his most accessible movie. We're going to talk about another movie that I think is another director's most accessible movie on my list, but I think that Osgood Perkins, he made one that everyone can get pulled into and go be able to either laugh with it or be freaked out by it. So I really enjoyed Longlegs a lot. I'm happy it's on your list. My number 7, it's time to pump it up. My number 7 is The Substance. This is the horror award darling of 2024, apparently. And I love that because it really is just a trashy that B movie that's not afraid to be a B movie, but it has that message of, what aging and, all that stuff attached to it. I think Demi Moore is absolutely fantastic, but also let's not forget Margaret Qualley. She is absolutely doing like her best work so far in this movie as well. I think it's fun, but it's also icky and disgusting, and it's a body horror. I'm actually a sick person. I'm like, when I saw the first reviews, I'm like, oh great, I'm in for it. And then when I saw it, I'm like, oh, I thought it was gonna go even further with the body horror. But as is, it's a really fun, pulpy, colorful. If you want to say fun horror movie, you can. But if you also want to take what it's trying to say, you can also have a different reaction to it. Like, oh my god, this is sad, depressing. So I just think that the director really balanced out everything very well. And it wasn't pretentious in its message. It was just like, this is a B movie, but we have this message to say as well. Demi Moore's sequence when she's in the mirror getting ready to go out to dinner, that broke my heart so much. It's so well done. But then, 20 minutes later, she has me, laughing at the screen when she's, taunting Margaret Qualley. She's, there's a scene where she's, making a bunch of food, and she's just watching Margaret Qualley on an interview show, and she's just pretty much... I thought that was the campiest and one of the most hilarious sequences I've seen of 2024, horror movie or not. I was laughing and falling off my couch with that sequence. But it's just I would say it's not going to be for everyone though. So the super mainstream people, they're not going to, I don't know if they're going to love, I don't think I can show my parents this and they're going to like this movie. They're going to be like, this is stupid. But I loved it. I enjoyed it. And I really hope that Demi Moore goes the distance and takes home that Best Actress Oscar. Not that I care, but it seems to be that's a movie that's representing the horror genre for the year. So I really, really had a good time with the subs. I didn't feel the runtime at all. I think it was 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it felt like an hour and 30 minutes to me. So I had a blast with the subs. It's a very, very, very well done horror movie. I think about it a lot, and I've rewatched it a couple times. And for me, rewatchability is very important for a top 10. And this is one that I keep going back to. I'm like, this movie's wild, and I love it.
Yeah, what you said, I almost disagree a little bit. I almost think that this is almost a gateway for people into body horror because it does tackle more elevated themes. It has Demi Moore, who's an A-list actress, and then it goes into that body horror, and then you get the ending, which I think is going to, surprised a lot of people. Us horror vets.
Right.
I wasn't surprised. I was a little surprised in what direction they went and how much it was done, but I was loving it, but I could see why people would watch this because it's getting awards and stuff, and then seeing the ending, being holy shit, why the fuck did they go in this direction? So I actually think that it could work for more typical moviegoers compared to other body horrors. I think this kind of toes the line of both, and it kind of is a good way, interesting way to introduce body horror into not the masses, but more of the non-horror folks. So yeah. Okay, cool. All right, number 6, I believe.
Yes.
Number 6 from me is gonna be Smile 2.
Smile 2 makes the top 10.
I mean, Smile was our first ever episode. Go check it out. It's gonna always be special to us. We both adore the first Smile. Smile 2 just takes it up a notch, and I don't even know. I'm still on the fence of which movie I like more, but in terms of scale and in terms of just cranking the volume up, this movie succeeds. Naomi Scott is a force. She is one of my top, one of my top 4 performances of the year, especially for horror. She is amazing. They picked the perfect actress for that role, for the pop star, Sky Riley, because she has the singing background. Again, not to get too spoilery, but this movie, like I said, cranks it up. It has good performances. You don't know what's real, what's not real. The entire ending is just one mind fuck. It is a little bit predictable. It is a little bit, I was kind of hoping they maybe went a little bit different direction at the end to kind of throw us off a little bit, but I can't really knock it for that because I know they're going to be making another one already. They have already announced it, so maybe we'll get a little bit different story. Kyle Gallner in the beginning, his one-take sequence in the beginning was it's still like fresh in my mind. It's one of the more memorable shots of the whole movie. I mean, I want like them to do a movie like with that tone would be awesome. Like maybe follow Kyle Gallner's character Joel for the 5 days or whatever that he was, around. But yeah, this movie is really special. It's going to be really rewatchable. The music videos, the original songs they made were incredible. I mean, I would listen to that just if it was a regular pop star song. I think it would be incredible. And I know they have the soundtrack that has come out, but yeah, it's a fun time. Very, very fun time.
Dude, Smile 2 is fucking awesome. I will never forget seeing that in the theater and literally people like clapping at the end. The guy's like, "Oh, that was fucking insane." I'm like, "Yeah, it was fucking awesome. I loved it." That was probably one of my favorite theater experiences of 2024. That's why going to the theater is so important. I love that it's on your top 10. My number 6 is one that you already had in your top 10. My number 6 is Heretic. So I don't want to say too much because we already talked about it. But I just think the three-hander between Hugh Grant, Sophie Thatcher, and Chloe East was superb. Hugh Grant like charmed me and also terrified me at the same time. And that's very hard for an actor to do, and he definitely succeeded. I like what you said about like it doesn't really take sides with like pro-religion or anti-religion, just puts all these questions out there.
Yeah.
And the movie is all about questioning things in general, so I think that was very smart. And I was also surprised, when you saw like the trailer, I was like, okay, this is gonna be like A24, like it's gonna be all like pretentious and talky and not go full horror, but it goes horror. And there's blood, and there's more blood than I thought there would be in this movie, and I appreciated that. And I was like, okay, this house is like a twisted house of horrors, and I'm like, this is awesome. I love it. I'm obsessed with the ending. I don't know. I know you said like some people have problems. Again, we'll talk about it when we talk about the movie because I have an interpretation. You might have a different one. I just think that this is a very smart religious horror movie that's not just trying to force religion or make you against religion down your throat. Just making you question things in general, like what you've been told your whole lives, or just like it's a movie about questioning things. And I think it's so well directed. I think it's actually the people who directed Haunt from 2019. So they're really on my radar, so I can't wait to see what they do next. So I just really had a really good time at Heretic, and I think that it's gonna go down as one of my favorite religious horrors of the last couple of years, and I cannot wait to buy it and rewatch it just to see the acting showcase between the three leads alone was worth it. So yeah, very, very well done. If you haven't watched Heretic, guys, make sure you go check it out. I really love that movie.
No, I'm glad it made your number 6. That's pretty high. It was number 10 for me, but you know, no fault of its own. It just was kind of smaller scale than these other movies. So yeah, that's really cool that it made that high on your list. All right, here we go. Top 5. Top 5. All right. Number 5 for me is going to be one that you said. It's Lisa Frankenstein.
Oh yeah.
Talk about a comfort film. I mean, holy shit. Kathryn Newton as Lisa Frankenstein is so infectious, and you just love her instantly. The first time you watch this movie, you just kind of fall for her, and you're in her POV, and you feel for her. She's kind of that weird, dorky outcast. She's got the popular stepsister and stuff, that whole trope, and she doesn't really fit in, but she kind of does her own thing. She's unapologetic about it, and it kind of takes you. It's kind of like a coming of age story in a sense, because she does change so much throughout the movie. I think her dynamic with what's his name who plays the creature,
Cole Sprouse, I believe.
Cole Sprouse is awesome. I think their chemistry is really palpable, and yeah, like I said, it just oozes style. And I love a film that is unapologetic with its stylistic choices, and it just goes there, and it doesn't try to be like too mainstream. It just kind of does its own thing and carves its own path. And I think this movie does that beautifully. I think it has some great cinematography. Some of the shots are amazing. The colors, everything, it just visually looks great. And yeah, if it wasn't for Kathryn Newton and her performance, the movie would probably fall apart a little bit, but she is the anchor. Obviously, I mean, the movie is called Lisa Frankenstein, and she just completely embodies that character. And it's, like I said, it's such a comfort film for me. I'm going to watch this for years to come and have so much fun with it.
It's like you said, it's a comfort movie. Like first and foremost, it's a movie that I can go back to whenever I'm like, bummed out. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a great watch. I'm gonna have fun every time. So I'm happy that a horror comedy is in your top 5. We support that. We support that on the podcast. Still, I absolutely adore that movie. So I actually can't wait. Now talking about, like, I want to go rewatch it. Like once we stop recording, because it's so much fun. But my number 5 is also a movie that was in your top 10 already. It's Longlegs.
Okay, cool.
I absolutely love Longlegs. Again, I'm someone who did see it on preview night, opening night, and just the reactions of nervous laughter, laughing at it in general, and people looking away and scared. It's like a movie that can like create all those different reactions from an audience. It has to be doing something special. So I do think that Osgood Perkins, he crafted something special with this one. The cinematography is amazing. Micah Moreau, she's around, maybe even a little younger than us, but she's already a horror icon. She's a scream queen. She is the modern day scream queen. Nicolas Cage was sprinkled in just enough throughout the movie where if he was in it anymore, it would have been too absurd and too much. But if he was in it any less, I would have felt cheated and wanted more of him. So I think that Osgood Perkins, again, felt that perfect balance. Alicia Witt, Micah Moreau's mother in the movie, she stole the movie for me. In every scene she was in, she was absolute perfection. And again, we will go into that in detail when we cover the movie. It's just a very, very, very well made. You think it's going to be like a Silence of the Lambs 7, but it like kind of like takes those two and like flips on its head and goes a little bit supernatural and magical with it. I just had so much fun watching this movie, and every time there's certain sequences that get stuck in my head. The interrogation scene towards the third act, I was not expecting it to go where it went, and I was like, this is just an acting showcase between these two icons. I had a lot of fun with this movie, and it wasn't afraid to go to dark places either, but it also made sure to keep the humor. And it was just I was the freak who was just smiling the whole entire movie. I'm like, I'm loving this right now. So I had a blast on Longlegs. It's been rewatchable. I've shown it to a few different people, and even they have had different reactions to like laughing at it, or like nervously laughing, or kind of like looking away. So a movie's special when it does that. So I had a really good time at Longlegs, and I hope people come around to it who are more divisive on it, because I had a blast with it.
Yeah, I just love the dark, creepy vibes it gives off the entire movie. It's a very heavy movie.
Yes.
And yeah, the ending kind of is a payoff to that, but even when it builds, you can feel that sense of dread and that heaviness, that something is lurking beneath the surface. And that's obviously the premise of the movie. She's trying to uncover what this mystery is, and I think they nailed that pretty heavily. So yeah, Osgood Perkins, I can't wait to see what he does next. I know he's got a movie coming out soon.
The Monkey.
Yeah, The Monkey. So that should be interesting. All right. Let us continue on. I believe we are top 4, correct?
Yes. What is your number 4?
Okay, number 4 for me is another movie, another overlap, is The Substance.
Oh, hell yeah. Top 4.
This movie, oof. It is just, it's hard for me to really have any notes. It is almost the perfect movie in terms of what it was trying to accomplish. I talked about before when you made your comments how it's kind of a good introductory into body horror, because I say that because it tackles these elevated themes, but it doesn't get too pretentious. A lot of body horror just goes full camp, like 0 to 100, full throttle. This movie holds on long enough. Obviously it goes camp at the end. I mean, you need that in a body horror movie, but it holds on long enough to where there is actually, again, pun intended, there is actually substance to the movie. And I think the whole premise was cool. The way that they used the quote unquote the substance to kind of introduce these themes was pretty cool. It kind of gave it like this futuristic, vibe to it. I thought the bathroom scenes were just impeccable. The acting in those opening bathroom scenes was, especially Margaret Qualley, was just,
she's so good,
insane. And yeah, Demi Moore stole the show with a couple of those scenes. I mean, I hope she gets all of her flowers, because she really, someone like Demi Moore could have easily just kind of well, first of all, not even taken this role, but secondly, kind of just went in and just said, okay, I'm going to have fun with it, whatever. It's like the fun movie. But no, she goes there and she really took this role seriously, you can tell. And yeah, this movie, it's special. It's really special. It's top 4 for me, but it could easily be top 1 or 2 any other year. This was just a great year for horror, but we're in like, the area where these are all like almost perfect films. So
oh, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I like what you said about Demi Moore. I think like it's special because she like wasn't afraid. It's a campy B movie, but she wasn't afraid to go to like vulnerable places. But it must have been scary as an actress. So I really appreciate that, and I hope again this is the one that's repping the horror genre for awards season. So I'm hoping that I think she might fucking win. I don't know, but I think she might win.
We'll see. I don't really put too much weight
into it. Me either. I don't care about it, but it would be cool to see like Demi Moore winning a Best Actress for The Substance. Like what?
Yeah.
Like a big fuck you to like your typical like Oscar bait movies. That would be hilarious. All right, my number 4. Are you ready for my number 4?
Yes. I think I am.
Nosferatu is my number 4.
Here we go.
We just saw this, guys. We're recording this a day after I watched this movie, and I cannot stop thinking about it. I fucking love this movie. Again, Nolan knows Eggers. Like, Nolan loves Eggers. I love him too, but he's never had a movie that's fully connected with me.
To you.
Yeah, like, I love The Witch. I'm not in love with it, though. I like The Lighthouse, and I like The Northman, but I was waiting for the movie that, like, really brought me in fully, and it's this one. It's fucking, guys, I beg you to go watch it in theaters because the visuals... I mean, I saw it with Nolan. I don't know if you looked, but like my jaw was like open, like for a couple of sequences because I'm like, this is fucking perfection. It's exactly what I expected from Eggers doing this interpretation, and that's not a bad thing for saying that. It's what I wanted. It's a visual feast. It's a fucking visual feast. The performances are amazing. Lily Rose Depp kills it with her physical and emotional acting. She's like turning you on, but also like freaking you out, like with them at the same time, and like that's awesome. Bill Skarsgård, fucking legend. The dude's a legend. I don't want to talk again. This movie just came out, so go watch it. But his performance, his voice acting, everything he's doing is A++. It rivals Pennywise what he's doing, so he is cemented as a horror legend. He's Nosferatu and fucking Pennywise. Nobody else is ever gonna be able to say that ever. Amazing. I would say Nicholas. It's funny because I don't know if it was last year, 2022, but Nicholas Hoult was in Renfield, and that was also one of my favorite horror movies of the year. And that's another interpretation of Dracula. So I don't think he gets enough credit because I feel like Nicholas Hoult's in everything, but I'm always just like, oh, he's another movie. But he's underrated, and he kills it in this movie. But the surprise for me, like performance-wise, because I know Lily Rose Depp and Bill Skarsgård would be awesome. But the surprise for me was Aaron Taylor Johnson. I feel like I connected the most with this character. He was amazing in this movie. His descent into madness, and my heart broke for him. Again, no spoilers, because I mean this movie's a story that's over 100 years old. That you probably know the story, but my heart broke for him in this movie, and I thought he shocked me. I'm like, wow, he can really. I know he's fun, whatever act, but I'm like, he can act. He's fucking awesome. Then you have, of course, Willem Dafoe was now Eggers' like mainstay. I loved him, but it's just, guys, you have to go see it and experience it. The atmosphere alone, it's probably the most atmospheric horror movie I've seen this year, and it's the most beautiful looking horror movie I've seen this year. Again, there's one shot. I don't want to give spoilers, but when Nicholas Hoult is on his way to the castle, there's a scene where there's a horse and carriage and he's in like the middle of the forest, and I swear to God, I was like drooling out of my mouth. That's how well shot it was. It's so good. I'm just so happy that Eggers finally like delivered a movie like specifically for me. I wish it went a little more like freaky and weird, but again, we're like adapting a story that's over 100 years old, so I get why he didn't. But that's my one thing where I'm like, go full Eggers, like get fucked up and weird. But he did. He got weird enough, but I just wanted a little bit more. But yeah, dude, I'm obsessed with this movie. I can't stop thinking about certain shots, and I'm so excited to go see it again. And it's definitely, it's the best looking movie of the year, like just in general. I'm not saying horror, not horror. So I'm absolutely finally obsessed with the Robert Eggers movie, and I love me some vampire movies. So this movie was excellent. It's the second highest grossing R-rated movie on Christmas Day. So I'm happy that we have audiences going to see a classic horror story and not like just wanting to do like the, nonstop jump out scare fest. They're actually taking their time and going to see a classic story. So this is a special one, and I cannot wait to go see it again. I love it so much. I know we'll be talking about it again, so I won't say too much more.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to say my thoughts. All I'll say is Count Orlok, Bill Skarsgård, his voice when I went to bed last night was ringing through
He was speaking to you.
He was speaking to me.
He was putting a spell on
darkness. You. Oh my gosh. That is going to stick with me, and I can't wait to watch this again. But yeah, we'll talk about this in a minute. Okay, so number 3. We are in our top 3. Here we go. The big top 3. Number 3 for me is The First Omen.
Fuck yeah.
And this is a movie that was number 1 for a while, for most of the year for me. And I thought it blew me away in so many different ways. The sound design, the atmosphere, the cinematography. I really thought this was going to be number 1 by the end of the year. But, as you know, the years go on and the year goes on and, it's number 3. But it's, man, it feels so wrong saying it's number 3 because I fucking love this movie. It just, for a prequel, I mean, it does its own thing. It doesn't try to be connected. And as you guys, I don't know if you guys know, it is a prequel to The Omen, the original right. The Omen. And it doesn't try, for people who haven't seen the movie, it doesn't try to be a prequel first. It stands on its own legs. It doesn't even really feel like the same universe until the very end when they just connect everything. Like literally the last 2 minutes of the movie is when you start to get the connections. Obviously, you have the character names and stuff, but other than that, there's really, it didn't feel like the same universe at all in a good way, because it stood on its own. But the performances, Nell Tiger Free, her acting, there's so many good performances this year, but it's hard not to mention Nell Tiger Free. You just talked about Nosferatu and Lily Rose Depp and her body acting, but Nell Tiger Free with her body movements and body acting.
Sorry, she takes the cake.
Oh, yeah. It was incredible. Incredible sight to see. I loved the visual cues. I love, me, I'm a sucker for amazing, creepy sound cues. Oh. And it had a lot of those sound cues. It had a lot of those, influxes of just, weird imagery and close-ups that, really kind of stick with you after you watch the movie. And yeah, this was just a really cool story. Shout out to Ralph Ineson, who's also in Nosferatu. He had a big year for horror this year. He's in the movie. He's awesome anytime he shows up with his deep, booming voice. But yeah, this movie, it goes there, and it's graphic. And like I said, it's got some scenes that you want to close your eyes. You're like, holy shit. I mean, the one, scene where she's looking through the window. Oh my gosh. I'm like, what the fuck? Did they is this in theaters? Holy shit.
I know, dude.
Oh my God. But yeah, this movie is really unsettling. It's creepy. It's got a great story. It doesn't, but at the same time, it doesn't try to reinvent the wheel. You kind of know what's going to happen, but it still surprises you along the way. And it just blew me away. It's a great, great movie. I can't wait to watch this. I want to watch this back to back with the original Omen. I think that would be a good double feature because I'm not even a huge Omen guy. We've talked about this. I'm not a huge Omen guy. I didn't grow up watching it, but I love the first Omen. It was so good. It's everything that Immaculate wishes it could be, unfortunately.
100%.
I'm not a huge Immaculate guy, but the first Omen just kind of takes it 10 steps above and just nails it.
Oh, I'm so happy it's in your top 3. It deservedly so. Again, it's a movie that unfortunately went too under the radar. I feel like Disney just dumped it, but where I just talked about my mouth, my jaw dropped from Nosferatu's visuals. My jaw dropped this entire movie because of how fucking awesome it was. I was not expecting to be blown away by that first Omen. It's one of the best prequels, the best horror prequels. So I'm so happy it's in your top 3. My number 3, which I was fighting with Nosferatu, I'm like, do I put Nosferatu number 3 or this one? But my number 3 is Terrifier 3 because I bought the 4K Blu-ray and I rewatched it and I'm just like, this movie is so much fucking. It's gonna be a Christmas horror staple every year for me. It's so much fucking fun. Like you said, the opening scene might be my favorite opening scene of the year. I don't know, but I was just like smiling from like year to year. I know that sounds weird about a Terrifier movie, but I was like, this is what I want. And it's just slasher overload. I cannot emphasize how good David Howard Thornton is as Arthur Clown, but I'm going to say the smartest decision that Damien Leone meant was making Vicky a main player in this sequel because she is vicious and freaky and she steals every sequence she's in. She terrifies me but intrigues me at the same time. She is so fucked up and I love it. This movie is just so fucked up. The highest grossing unrated movie of all time is a slasher movie and I absolutely adore it. Lauren Rivera, I'm happy. She is the, Laurie Strode to Michael Myers, Sidney Prescott to Ghostface. Her and Arthur Clown are that of this generation, the Freddy to Nancy. So I'm just hoping they like work out a couple of kinks in her whatever ability she has. I kind of want to get answers or like, let's just figure that out. But other than that, I just am obsessed that we have a movie that started out as this like super, super low budget that a few horror fans saw to now that mass audiences are flocking to see and supporting this like gruesome, over the top, crazy horror movie. I love it so much. I can't wait to see where they go. I'm a sucker for holiday horror. I think that Terrifier 3, it's the biggest budget yet, and they really use it to its advantage. I don't want to say my ranking because I want to cover this, but I think I have a unique ranking for this franchise. And you'll be surprised to where I place each movie. But I just love this movie so much. It's just fun and it's creepy, but it's also hilarious. It's campy, like you said. It's just over the top madness, and I love me some craziness on the big screen. And I cannot stop watching this movie since I bought it. So. Rewatchability is important to me, as you know, so I can't stop rewatching this. I've watched it like a couple times over the last week because it's just so much fun. So I love Terrifier 3. Please, nice. Guys, check it out, and I'm excited to see where he goes with 4.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's a fan of the Terrifier franchise has definitely seen this one by now, so I don't even really have to worry about spoilers because if you haven't seen it by now, that means you're probably not a fan of the franchise because the fans of this franchise just go rabid for these movies and Art the Clown. It's great. Like you said, Damien Leone, the Ed addition to Vicky. While I do prefer Art as the main villain. I think adding her added like extra depth and layers to him, and it kind of helped explain some of his backstory because this was really expanding upon Art the Clown's kind of not really his lore because we still don't know who he is or where he came from, but it did expand upon kind of what he is going on in his mind because we do get a lot of POV sequences with him. But yeah, this is going to be a holiday staple for us freaks, us horror freaks and slasher freaks. It's so atmospheric. You have Santa, Art the Clown, when he steals the Santa suit. I mean, it's just, it's great. Like you said, the opening sequence is
Dude, the kill set pieces, he's unmatched. Like, I let him do a Friday the 13th, please, because like these kill set pieces are fucking insane.
Yeah, we didn't even highlight the shower scene, which everyone was talking about.
The shower scene, dude, the Vicky scene when she shoves something up somewhere. I was like, I'm desensitized, and I'm just like, holy, what am I watching?
Damien Leone obviously loves and respects the genre. There were so many nods to Black Christmas in this movie and other movies. It was just a treat. It was a treat for us horror fans to watch in theaters. I had a smile on my face the whole time as well. So, yeah. Okay. Here we go. Number 2, correct? All right, number 2.
Uh-oh.
Here we go. Drum roll, please. Ant will know what's going on here from our episode with Phil. But number 2 for me is Oddity. Oddity is...
There was no doubt for me.
A perfect movie. You said it's not rewatchable, and I understand where you're coming from. I really do, but it is such a tight, cool movie, and it does have enough atmosphere for me. That set design and that home that they buy in the movie is so fucking cool looking that I really think this is a rewatchable film I can just throw on and have a good time. Obviously, the jump scares aren't going to get me the same way, but I think it has more than jump scares. I think the jump scares worked really, really well, but it also has some really intense, like, kind of chase scenes towards the end where I found myself yelling at the screen, like, go, go, go. So, yeah, it's just really creepy. Carolyn Bracken is awesome. She plays the main. She plays the two mains because they're twins. So she plays the sister in the beginning, and not to spoil too much, but she also plays the twin sister towards the end of the movie. And she is fucking great. She put on a great performance. I totally bought into like her, like what she was going for and her whole vibe. She owns that like oddity antique store, and you know, she's kind of mysterious and she's blind, by the way. That was a cool wrinkle. Yeah, kind of a psychic vibe. Again, not to spoil too much, because guys, you really should go into this movie without knowing too much about it. But there is a design, you know, I don't want to say too much, a design that I really think is unique in this movie, and I'd never really seen it done this way. I will not say anything else, but super creepy. It's probably the scariest movie of the year in terms of just on the edge of your seat for me the first time I watched it. Like I said, I was screaming at the TV. I had so much fun. The sound design is effective. It's not in your face, but it builds that tension. And yeah, it's I will never not give credit to a movie just because it's not super rewatchable, because in the end, horror that scares me is always going to get a nod. So I have to. It was number one for so long in this year. It's number two, but it is just so fucking good. And like you said, I think it benefited from not being like a big Hollywood production. Yeah, they were able to kind of keep the creative, you know, rights to it, and they had probably a smaller budget. It was an Irish movie, but they made the most of it because it blew me away. Totally blew me away.
I'm happy that a movie like that is so high up. It's so special because it's so simple in a good way, but the concept is so unique. So I think with that blended, it just makes it a really special horror viewing experience. All right, guys, we're in the top two. My number two is another movie that no one already talked about. It is The First Omen. I am fucking obsessed with this movie so much. I remember seeing in the theater and I was just like, am I in like some dream world? Because this is fucking amazing. I was expecting it to be like an and I was just like I was getting chills nonstop throughout the movie. The imagery that I was seeing like rivaled Hereditary for me. I was like, what is happening right now? This movie is fucking firing on all cylinders. Like you said, Nell Tiger-Free, she is my second favorite performance of 2024. She is slaying this role. It's just a fucked up movie, and everyone knows that, you know, I like fucked up shit, and this movie goes there. Like you said, there's scenes where I'm like, Disney released this movie? Like, what is happening right now? This is fucking awesome. Opening scene, I don't want to give it away, but god damn, it's so beautiful. I am obsessed with The First Omen so much. I grew up with The Omen, so this movie to me, I was like, really, they're gonna do a First Omen? Then I saw it, I'm like, fuck yeah, they did The First Omen, and they slaughtered it. It's just, if you guys haven't watched it, I know it's a little under the radar, please go watch it. It'll be one of the best like visual horror experiences, and the sound design is great. It'll just be one of your favorite horror experiences of the year, in my opinion. And again, for religious horror, it's not just that it's like an immaculate type movie. It goes to the supernatural and crazy too. So it takes that extra step, which is why I think it does overtake immaculate, where that's more based in reality and typical. This one just goes there and it's not afraid to. I was just amazed by what I was seeing on screen, and I can't remember the director's name offhand, but I cannot wait to see what she does next, because she killed it with this one. And I really, really hope that Nell Tiger-Free sticks with the horror genre, because in my opinion, she should be right alongside Demi Moore being nominated for Best Actress. There's that, we know the scene with the possession scene, that was like, I was getting chills. And then the way it connects into the original Omen also gave me chills, and you have that score kick in. It's just one of the best horror prequels I've ever seen. So I have it on rewatch. I have the Blu-ray, and I've rewatched it a couple times, and every time I'm like fully pulled in. And I've recommended it to my parents, my cousins. We're all Omen people, and they're like, "Holy shit, this movie's fucking wild." So I love that I love that I was so surprised by an Omen movie. 2024. I'm obsessed with this movie so much.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to be said. I loved this movie. The only thing I'll say is when it got to the car scene outside, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know.
Spoiler free. Once that scene happened and the reveal of it, I was like, okay, this is special. Like, this is okay. They're going there. They're not afraid. Like, this is insane. Holy shit.
Dude, who would have thought that the first Omen, like, just dumped into theaters would be such a special, like, it's so special.
It is.
It's crazy. I'm happy to see that people are finally, like, I see on the, the horror Twitters, like, the first Omen fucks hard. I'm like, yeah, it does.
I can't help but think, like you said, Disney released this movie, but this has to be a testament to, I want you to pull it up who the director was, because
I have to. I do. I have to pay respect to her. I really do.
Because it has to be right from the director that made this movie special. I mean, she definitely was unwavering. Do you have her name?
Okay, so Arkasha Stevenson. This is her feature film directorial debut. Fucking
and
crazy.
That makes sense. That makes sense because a lot of time when you get these debuts, you have directors that are unwilling to compromise because they have a vision. They want to make their mark and put their stamp on, the industry. And you can really tell that she really just went for it. And I just applaud her so much because everything she did worked and it was just incredible.
Dude, if she's doing that for her first feature, like, I can only imagine what she's going to do, like, 3 movies, like, down the line. Like, she's someone very talented and special to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and again, I don't know, like, too much about the crew of the movie and, like, the post-production, but shout out to the editing team and the sound design team. I think they just, from top to bottom, just nailed it.
Hell yeah, I'm happy that it was so high up for you, too. I remember when I told you to watch, I'm like, I hope he, like, loves it as much as I do.
All right, here we go.
All right, let's do it. I know what was coming for you.
A little anticlimactic on my end.
Well, not maybe for us it is, but I don't know what the audience. Let's tell them.
Well, if you're watching and you see my hat, number one for me is Nosferatu. It's the horror movie of the year. Call me, whatever. Say that it's recency bias. I don't care. This movie is gonna have legs. It's gonna stick with me. Mm-hmm. It's everything I wanted from Robert Eggers in this story. Once I heard he was making this, gothic, romantic vampire tale, I was so excited. And it delivered. I mean, it's just Eggers clicking on all cylinders. It's just from top to bottom, he had a vision and he nailed it. And you really can't critique anything about what the final product is. I know you said you wanted to go a little bit freaky, but I think he didn't because he respected the source material and the original Nosferatu so much. And I think he just, like you said, it's his most accessible movie, but that's not a knock because it's just so well done. And I find a hard time if you even remotely like the horror genre or vampires, you're gonna like this movie. I mean, it's so accessible. It's horror first and foremost, and then it has the gothic romance tied in, which I think is a great blend. I think that we were talking about this before we saw the movie. We were hoping that horror was kind of gonna be at the forefront, and it definitely was. I mean, Bill Skarsgård, there were a few times where I was literally holding my breath when he was on screen and he was talking. His scenes with Nicholas Hoult were amazing. And then, not to spoil too much, but his scenes with other characters, including Lily Rose Depp, towards the end. And I know everyone knows the story, so, it's not too much of a spoiler. But he, finally confronts Lily Rose Depp at the end, and it was like watching two just forces of acting. Lily Rose Depp just blew me away. I was not too familiar with her work. Going into this movie, I know she's done some work in the past, but not much that I have seen. But we talked about No Tiger Free. I think Lily Rose Depp is right up there and maybe even goes a step above her in terms of her acting chops for this movie. Just the scale of everything and the fact that it's, like a love story all underneath of it. And she really drives that home, and you really feel for her. And she's, you know, kind of torn in a way, and she has a love for her husband. And again, I don't want to talk too much about the plot points in the movie, but
we'll be covering this.
The entire cast was on their A+ game. Everyone, top to bottom, there wasn't a single weak point. You talked about Aaron Taylor Johnson was kind of a scene stealer. He surprised me the most because I wasn't too familiar with his acting chops until now. I mean, he was amazing. I know he's been in some stuff, but in terms of just going full on like character actor, he really dove in. William Dafoe is always Nicholas Hoult. Again, like you said, I was a little worried that he was going to be like, oh, okay, that's Nicholas Hoult, but I didn't see that in him at all. He totally committed to Thomas Hutter. He was Thomas Hutter, so that was incredible. Count Orlok is going to go down as like the most memorable villains for me in terms of like my first watch. His voice, I talked about it before. I don't even know where Bill Skarsgård is in that voice. I mean, we could talk about the prosthetics and his character design and how transformative his visual look was, but I think his voice was the most impressive, especially because you hear Eggers say that it wasn't aided by any special effects or anything. That was legit his voice. So it still boggles my mind how he was able to come up with those sounds. And on top of it, his design did work for me as well. I mean, it was awesome. I know Eggers talked about he wanted to like kind of go back to the days when in the folklore where people actually believed in vampires and thought they were real. And so he wanted to bring that out and say, you know, what would a Transylvanian, you know, nobleman who turns into a vampire look like? And that's kind of the end result. And it was just, I was blown away. It was good. I loved how they kind of stuck him in the shadows for the first half of the movie, and then, you know, once you go there and you see he kind of goes all out. The shadow work in this movie, obviously an homage to the original. You know, you have the scenes with the hand over the town, and you have him in the curtains. It's kind of a visual representation of him haunting people, and I love that he used that shadow work so effectively. It's a beautiful movie, like you said. You said that Terrifier 3 is like a staple for you. This is going to be my Christmas horror staple Christmas every year.
Yeah, I'm happy.
It really is. Because not just because it's a cold weather movie, but they do mention that it takes place during Christmas time in the movie. So, yeah, this is. I can't wait to own this movie, and I'm going to get all the collectibles and collector's edition. I have my popcorn tin in the background.
You got that.
I got that, and I'm just obsessed. Robert Eggers is probably my favorite working horror director right now, and this just solidified it. And I am curious to get our rankings on him. We'll eventually get those, but this just is a tour de force. Everyone go see it on the biggest screen possible.
Please.
Like ASAP.
I know neither of us mentioned it, but the score, too. Like, not only the visuals are amazing, but the score and the sound design is just beautiful.
Yes.
I'm finally happy that I have an Eggers movie that I'm like, can't wait to like watch again. Like, I've been waiting for it, so I'm so happy. And you kind of said something like, no spoilers, but you said like the ending was so beautiful. I kind of feel like I felt like that about the whole movie. Like, it's tragic and horrific, but it's so fucking beautiful. I didn't want it to end.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. No, I mean, it was a longer runtime. It was a little over 2 hours, but it didn't.
I didn't feel it.
I didn't feel like it needed to be cut at all. I mean, it was just this grand story. Every sequence, there were so many, like you said, it was a visual feast. There were so many different sequences and set pieces in this movie that you can hang your hat on throughout every act. That you talked about, you know, when Nicholas Holt's character Thomas is going to meet Orlok and is going up to his castle. Legendary. And in any other movie, that would be the highlight. But that's just one of like maybe a half dozen sequences that are like going to be remembered for years to come. Yeah.
Hell yeah. I mean, I knew once the credits started rolling, this is your number one movie of the year. But I'm happy, and I'm so happy that it's in my top 5 because I was nervous. I'm like, Eggers, please. And he did. I was nervous.
I was nervous because you know how hyped I've been for this movie for a while now.
Right. Hype Hype is a dangerous thing.
It is a dangerous thing, and I was very confident that he was going to deliver, and I'm really glad he did.
I am just so eager to like rewatch this on a loop because the shots that like every shot was so beautiful. I'm like, oh my god, please don't end. But I'm like, I have to focus on the rest of the movie. But my brain was still like just reacting to the magnificent scene I just witnessed. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I can't wait.
There was a couple times in the movie where it kind of jumped from scene to scene, and it was like back to back, like amazing scenes, and you're still trying to process the scene before. I think when you watch this back a couple times, it's gonna maybe jump your rankings a little bit. It might be a little bit higher.
Might. Yeah, it might. I'm hoping it does because I'm fucking obsessed with this movie already. I've seen it once. I can't wait. Wow, I can't wait till we cover like each of these movies like in depth. But all right, so my number one is still going to be a sequel, and whatever. I have no shame. My number one is Smile 2. I adored the first movie so much back in 2022. It was my number 3 of the year. This one still deals with the mental health and mental illness, but it just goes full absurd. And I just love that we have, I think Smile and Smiler 2 are like a good mainstream 1-2 punch, but they're like the meanest mainstream 1-2 punch I've ever seen from like a big studio, because this movie's fucking so mean to its lead character, and I'm just like, holy shit, it's not afraid to go there. I mean, you have the opening sequence with Kyle Gowner that again is like an all-timer opening scene for 2024. You have such disturbing violent scenes in this movie. I'm like, holy shit, they're doing this again in like a mainstream, like, you know, studio movie where the wait scene, like, I'm like, okay, it's dumb, but like, nope, one more hit. Oh, no, one more hit. Oh, okay. Oh, we're gonna do one more hit. Okay. It's just, it's a movie that is trying to make you have fun, but it's also trying to fuck you up. So I appreciate that. And Naomi Scott, give her flowers. This is, to me, the performance of 2024. The things that she goes through in this movie, I was exhausted by watching the movie. I can only imagine how exhausted she was by like performing in the movie. By the end of it, I was like, God damn, just give her a break. And the movie does not give her, that character, a break at all. It just taunts with her the entire movie. Parker Finn, to me, is the horror director to look out for, because his visual flair and his just, he knows the world of Smile so well. I can't wait to see him tackle another original horror concept and make it maybe another franchise, because he is just firing on all cylinders. I feel like he was like Smile 1, like I got my feet wet and I made a contained story, which I might prefer Smile 1 just because of how contained it was, and I maybe related more to the character of Rose versus a celebrity. But that's no knock against Smile 2, because he just says, I'm going to go and take it to a fucking 11 in Smile 2. And he definitely does that with so much ease, and he just is killing it on all cylinders. So, yeah, dude, Smile 2, to me, it's the horror movie of the year because it scared me, but it also made me laugh because of how absurd it was. And it just made me be like, how is this a studio releasing this wide? It's just fucking crazy how they're put their full support behind him, and they don't care that he's going full crazy. So I can't wait to see where Smile 3 goes. Like you said, the way this one ended, it really can go somewhere unique, because there's no spoilers, but it'll be something different in the third one. But just nothing works without Parker Finn and Naomi Scott, and I cannot stress enough, if horror wasn't so frowned upon by awards, she hands down would be taking that award home, not even being nominated. So yeah, I'm obsessed with Smile 2. I'm not ashamed that a sequel's in my number 1, and I rewatched this the most out of my top 10, so it had to be my number 1. I keep rewatching it. I keep watching people react to it. I show my parents, and they're like, "This is fucking crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, it is. It's awesome." So yeah, I'm obsessed with Smile 2. I can't wait to have a little trilogy on our hands. So I'm really happy that we have a really good 1-2 mainstream horror punch that isn't afraid to be super mean.
Shout out to Parker Finn, like you said, because looking at this movie on paper, I mean, what a remarkable feat to go this direction. I mean, if you would have told me before any trailers or anything that he was going to cover a pop star and it was going to be her like on tour and getting ready for tour, I'm like, what? Like, we're going from Smile 1, which was so like dark and moody and contained, to this. That sounds like he's biting off way more than he can chew. But no, he had a vision and he fucking delivered. And two totally different movies, but they're all connected by the same through line, and that's his touch and how mean he gets with some of these sequences. And yeah, it's a really fun movie.
Hell yeah. We did it.
We did it. All right, before we wrap it up, let's cover our top 10 again and just do a little refresher. I'll let you go first and just kind of go down 10 through 1.
All right, so my number 10 is Infested. My number 9 is Oddity. My number 8 is Lisa Frankenstein. My number 7 is The Substance. My number 6 is Heretic. My number 5 is Longlegs. My number 4, for now, is Nosferatu. My number 3 is Terrifier 3. My number 2 is The First Omen. And my number 1 is Smile 2.
My top 10. Number 10 for me was Heretic. Number 9, Terrifier 3. Number 8 was Abigail. Number 7, Longlegs. 6 was Smile 2. Number 5, Lisa Frankenstein. And number 4 is The Substance. And then my top 3, number 3, The First Omen. Number 2, Oddity. And number 1, unapologetically, is Nosferatu. Go see Nosferatu immediately before it leaves theaters.
Dude, we had a shit ton of overlap. That's awesome.
Yeah, we did. What do we have?
Wow, we had 9 overlap.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 or 9. Yeah, 9. Yeah, that's crazy. That's definitely the most overlap we've had on a
ever.
List. Yeah.
All right, awesome.
I mean, you can't beat taste. I mean, we have great taste, and the horror is killing it. And yeah, awesome. Okay, so that's it, guys. We did it. This was our year-end review, 2024. We're looking forward to 2025. I know there's already some announced releases in the horror genre, and maybe we'll cover an episode in the future, kind of talking about our,
for sure,
most upcoming for the year. But for now, Happy New Year, everyone, and we'll see you in 2025. Let us know what your list is. Whose list you agree with more. Any of these movies that you haven't seen, let us know what you think of them. And yeah, you can find us on Twitter and our X and Instagram at Never Split Up Pod. And we are very, very close to our goal of 200 subscribers on YouTube. We only have like 4 or 5 left. So if you're one of those people that haven't subscribed to our YouTube, we would really, really appreciate it. And yeah, until next time, this is the Never Split Up Podcast. We'll see you later. Goodbye.